You may be seated. Welcome to the 152nd Founders Anniversary Convocation of Morehouse College. Please silence your electronic devices. We're exceptionally happy to see so many of you and to have so many distinguished guests. As is our custom here, let me introduce a few people to you. Kathleen Johnson, representing the Ray Charles Foundation of Los Angeles. Dr. Peter Ackerman, Managing Director of Rockport Capital and founder of the International Center of Nonviolent Conflict, Washington, D.C., Dr. Ackerman. Dr. Louis Wade Sullivan, alumnus and founding president of the Morehouse School of Medicine, former Secretary of Health and Human Services. Dr. Michael Lomax, president and CEO of the United Negro College Fund. Here's a surprise. Mr. Kennard Garrett, Morehouse class of '01. Last week, Grammy award-winning reggae artist. Staff member at the college. There he is waving. For your information, Morehouse got 3 other Grammys. Just thought you ought to know. Mrs. Yvonne King Gloucester, wife of our 7th president, Dr. Hugh Morris Gloucester. For our guest, Dr. Gloucester built the chapel. Dr. June Gary Hops, former chair of the Board of Trustees of Spelman College. Mrs. Sylvia Cook, former First Lady of Dillard University. Let's take a look at the beautiful big family of President David Anthony Thomas. Please rise. Isn't that impressive? Now let's have all of our delegates please rise and be recognized. Okay. And the Morehouse faculty, please rise. Members of the Morehouse College Board of Trustees, please rise. And trustee spouses, won't you stand as well? Okay. Morehouse College staff, please stand. I think we have some members of our Board of Preachers, the Martin Luther King Jr. Board of Preachers, please rise. Morehouse College alumni. Morehouse College seniors. Morehouse College students who are in the house. Morehouse College students. I now call forth the 22nd pastor of historic Silver Bluff Springfield Baptist Church, where Morehouse College was founded in 1867 by the Reverend William Jefferson White. Now the Reverend Mr. Hardy Spurgeon Bennings III will ring the 1787 bell, recalling how the first class started on the evening of February 14th, 1.5 centuries ago in the city of Augusta, Georgia. These proceedings today will be officially presided over by Mr. Willie E. Woods, Chairman of the Morehouse College Corporation, commonly known as the Board of Trustees. The program will proceed as you see it printed before you. Chairman Woods.
Thank you, Dean Carter. I now would like to call upon the prayer before we get started. Let us pray. God of our weary years and God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path, we pray. O God, as into this sacred space that we've assembled ourselves to worship and to magnify you, we give you glory for this wonderful institution. We thank you for the great legacy of this institution. We thank you for all who've come, who have served. And now we've come today to evoke your presence in this place. We ask, O God, as we've come for the time of inauguration and dedication and consecration, that you allow the oil that fell on David to fall today in this place. We thank you that 12 is a number of order, of government. We praise you for the past 150 plus years. Now, O God, be pleased with this time. May it bring glory and honor to your name and provide legacy for generations to come. In your name we pray. Amen. Thank you, Dean Carter. The response to celebrate is complete and in order. I therefore authorize this investiture to begin. Dr. Anthony Davis Thomas, I call you forth.
You don't have to announce it. You just come up. Okay, that's all I want you. Okay, got it.
I will also now have the tributes come up. David Wall Rice, Julia Christopher Gaines, Marlon D. Cousin, and Herman Beavers.
Good morning. My name is David Wall Rice. I'm a professor in the Department of Psychology here at Morehouse College and have been for 15 years. Anytime there's an opportunity to be in front of the genius men of Morehouse and those who design for their success, I count it an honor. The honor is punctuated today, of course, because of the occasion. I welcome and thank all of you who are present for your investment in President David A. Thomas, for your investment in the Morehouse College Brotherhood, and because of my centered position here today as Associate Professor, I thank you for your investment in the faculty who so radically commit their lives to freedom with their love of and education of Black men. In the 152 years that have framed the life of these buildings on this red clay dirt hill here in Atlanta, Georgia, there have only ever been 12 who have had the opportunity to lead this institution as president. Dean Carter, I'm obviously going to stay in my lane, leaving any allusion to the 12 disciples across the gospel to you. But with my time, I will push at Morehouse and the mystique of it all. My argument, an axiological one, is that the descriptor mystique, the Morehouse mystique, undercuts the school's significance within the attachment to the diaspora. The label, without heavy contextualization, can suggest us as caricature or cliche. And in my understanding, first as a student here, and then as a research scientist who examines the best parts of the Black behavioral experience, Morehouse College is not mysterious. Rather, it represents the best of who and how Black men are when they are afforded a safe space to be. To be clear, this is no disrespect to Morehouse College giant and sixth president, Dr. Benjamin Elijah Mays. This beingness is amplified in his work, and it informs us here. In his 1981 text, Lord, the people have driven me on, President Mays talks of, and I quote, two contradictory themes in my life. Life has been brutal and cruel to me. Mean, heartbreaking things have crossed my path, and certainly my environment has tried to beat me down and make me accept the philosophy that I had no mission in this world, no call from God to do his will. The path has been so crooked, the road so rocky, the climb so steep, that looking back frightens me even today. Of course, this is the reality still for our young Black boys and men within the context of a socio-political everyday that has elevated white supremacy and the degradation of the marginalized to an art. But President Thomas, bound in the American experience, there is still no higher idealized art than freedom. In this regard, Mays offers again, and I quote, on the other hand, life has been kind to me. The people have been good to me. God has been gracious unto me, for I am sure that many good things have come to me by the grace of God, and I have gotten some things that I did not deserve. And with Mays' insightful articulation here, I find the framework for a sacred Morehouse College, not a mystique-laden one, a chapel that humanizes the Black boy and the Black man in the face of a society that makes him invisible, Ralph Ellison, that positions him as the universal Negro, James Baldwin, and that affords him no community within which just to be, Bell Hooks. Morehouse College is radical and can teach the world because its soul is the truth that Black men, the most optically salient opposition to sickened Western cultural norms of the day, Black men are to be respected, valued, seen, listened to, and loved. The Morehouse College Whole is a sacred chapel, or a crown forum, if you will, where along with others, faculty work with students to be their best selves so that their leadership for and with community is a compassionate expression of intellective competence, a heightened orchestration of cognitive abilities that minimizes capitalistic tropes of success in favor of peace and dignity and human corporateness. President Thomas, relative to many on faculty here at Morehouse, I hazard to say that I know you better than many. Professor Edmund W. Gordon, the still living 97-year-old disciple of W.B. Du Bois, your earliest of professors, is my intellectual grandfather. And in being bound by his teachings, I recognize the depth with which you approach the education of Black folk that takes here at this sacred chapel. You declaring your presidency at Morehouse College as your legacy play is deeply respected as it fits to the tradition of freedom work practiced here since February 14th, 1867. So with all of this, David A. Thomas, Godspeed and God's grace to you with your presidency, and formally welcome to Morehouse College. Certainly the faculty is committed to continuing the heavy lifting that is still needed from this sacred chapel that is Morehouse, with you as president. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Julian C. Gaines, a senior business administration major with a concentration in marketing and a double minor in economics and sales from Charlotte, North Carolina. I have the distinct honor to serve both the student body and this college as Chief Justice of the Student Government Association. The life and witness of this institution lies in the service, commitment, and scholarship of the student body. As soon as a student here does the soul work to wear the proverbial crown of which Howard Thurman spoke, they sign a cosmic contract to be champions for Blackness, warriors for justice, troopers for community building, defenders of inclusion, and most importantly, the upholders of love. We are called to a greater standard at Morehouse, and this student body stands ready to continue this unwavering legacy. Founder William Jefferson White appointed the first president, Joseph T. Robert, with the vision of not only reaching excellence, but redefining what excellence looks like. Dr. Robert designed the first comprehensive curriculum for the Augusta Baptist Institute, and with 37 students, created a powerful legacy, anticipating a mobilization built on the Black social gospel justice movement. And now, 152 years later, 2,100 students are looking to you, President Thomas, to help envision and create a new Morehouse, prepared to address the 21st century world of climate change, globalization, and technology. We aren't looking to you for the answers for our life's problems. We aren't looking to you to give us reason when we have lacked faith. And we certainly aren't looking to you to drop opportunities in our laps when we have not worked for them. However, President David Anthony Thomas, we look to you to continue the legacy started by President Robert and those 37 men, which was preserved by the great Morehouse generations that followed. During this journey, allow us to express ourselves and our thoughts so that we may inspire Morehouse to grow. Allow us to embrace beautiful traditions, rituals, and symbolisms of this space while challenging the status quo so that we may never settle for simply good enough. The president of Morehouse has an impressive responsibility. The members of the Board of Trustees wants the 12th president to bombard heaven and boardrooms for financial assistance, while the faculty looks to the same person to have an intellectual acumen that sets the institution's academic trajectory. But the student body looks to this person to be the incarnation of what this institution wishes to produce. President Thomas, in such a short time, you have proven that you are walking integrity, standing dignity, and dancing compassion. Rest assured, the student body has the utmost confidence in your ability to fulfill your promises, and that we will work tirelessly to do our part in seeing that your vision is fulfilled. Now, although much has changed on this campus, much still remains. The student body remains committed, disciplined, and focused towards propelling this institution and ourselves to heights unknown but not unimagined. President Thomas, we look forward to this journey together, May God bless you, and may God bless Morehouse College.
Good morning. My name is Marlon D. Cousin, and I'm president of the Morehouse College National Alumni Association. And on behalf of the 16,000 plus alums across this United States and abroad, we say congratulations to President Thomas. I want to take a few minutes to tell a story that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said to his congregation at Dexter Avenue Baptist Church. He talked about a man who raised chickens and built this nice, beautiful house that sat near the river. But every time it rained, the river would overflow and drown all of his chickens. So this happened over and over and over again, and the man said, I can't stay in this house. The water keeps overflowing and drowning all of my chickens. So he screamed that to the landlord, and the landlord came back to him and said, listen, maybe you ought to start raising ducks, because ducks can float on top of the water and spare you all of that grief. Now, President Thomas and my Morehouse family, that is my advice for us. We have to float above our troubles, float through the rain, float through our trials and tribulations, float through setbacks, float. And President Thomas, no man is perfect, but you have been perfectly purposed. Now, I'm here today because I believe that we should have a galvanized and committed alumni to support this president. And so right now, I would like all of our Morehouse alums to please stand. Along with that, I want my anticipated alums, the class of 2019, to please stand. And while you're standing, I want you to take this pledge with me and shout, I am ready. I am ready. Oh, you could do better than that. I am ready. I am ready. So when President Thomas said he wants to build a state-of-the-art campus and need architects, engineers, and lawyers and politicians, I want you to shout, I am ready. When he wants to build a 24-hour community center, he wants us to go deep in our pockets for a student center for our students and have tutors in the morning, in the noon, in the night. I want you to say, I am ready. I am ready. When he wants you to come back to this campus and mentor our 2,500 students and say, tell your story, your journey, your greatness. I want you to say, I am ready. I am ready. And for this class of 2019, when President Thomas calls you to be that class that gives the most during May in Morehouse College history, I want you to say, we are ready. We are ready. We are ready. We are ready. And we'll be able to do that, President Thomas, because we have a president like you, faculty like you, staff like you, and these amazing students like you. And we know a time will come, it always will, when the clouds will disappear and the waters will subside and the bright shining sun will rise again, and we will stand in one voice and say, and then there was light. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Herman Beavers, and I've been asked to write a poem on this occasion. The poem is titled Blackness and Light, on the occasion of David A. Thomas's investiture as the 12th president of Morehouse College. There are two epigraphs. The first from Robert Hayden's poem, Words in the Morning Time, which reads, Master now loves instruments, complex and not for the fearful, simple and not for the foolish. Master now loves instruments. And the second is from Benjamin Mays, the 6th president of Morehouse College, which simply says, I would stand for something. I would count. Blackness and the light. Harbinger of managerial wisdom, maven of due diligence, our time here is brief. We are gathered not for coronation's sake, nor obfuscation. Amidst academe's clerical rigmarole, we are pumped and circumstanced, invocated to take measure of your task, not simply to mark an occasion, nor delight in the quality of time's trudge forward. We have watched you assume this mantle of stewardship, step brightly into the brightly lit cathedral of who you are. Some will take pains to remind us that darkness everywhere is falling. Each day filled with moments when parents tremble to keep their children safe, when love's polar opposite, fear, invites us to harden our thoughts, shut our hearts away in an impregnable zero sum of the inexorable. Will we choose decompensation, indifference, knowing the heart's equal in size to a fist? Turn a blind eye to men on street corners, their bodies made holy by the lash? No one has told them blackness is not wreckage, but jazz riff. No one has told them that God took melody, wrapped it in blackness, and called it a blackbird. No one has told them blackness is more than guilt, cages, living in the red, in constant arrears. So many suffer insults to the heart, lives beggared, discarded progeny hissing for random coins. Have we compassion for those who take life, believing it the only way they will not be forgotten, their place acknowledged? Darkness, I say, everywhere is falling. I do not know what you make of this. I do not know what can be made of this moment, whether sufficient constitution can be found to annul the compunction singing in our bones. What we know is before the first galaxy bloomed into existence, there was blackness. That blackness gave color to the cosmos. That its absence strips every star of meaning. What is starlight but a voyage through blackness? Unrelenting motion, ineffable, stripped of hubris, till all light reaching us is history, unbidden, unburdened. My dear brother, you arrived at this place attracted to its light, ascertaining the necessary and essential truth that the most important step of a million-mile trek is the first. We are here to pay our respects, to give you your just due. We know there are those who would say there are 100 ways to be a black man. Let Morehouse be that place where no one is counting. There are those who will say black men must be tempered steel, weaponized. Let Morehouse nurture trees who bend in the wind, their bones the river stemming the world's aching inclination to burn. There are those who would make manhood a tiny room reserved for the tough, the straight. Let light pass through every wall and liberate the masculine imaginary. To those who say black men must turn the tide alone, let Morehouse men align themselves with every black woman warrior aiming to heal. And when this is done, when each man discovers the body can be luminous, government immune to self-congratulation, narcissism shuttled through vestibules of human being, they will conjure blackness and the light, schooled in the need we have of them.
Let us thank Dr. U.Z. Brown, the composer of this inaugural anthem. Dr. Brown. Let us also thank Dr. David Morrow, director of the Glee Club, the instrumental ensemble, and Dr. David Oliver, our organist. They worked hard to harmonize all of these intricacies for this finely tuned composition. Let me also take this opportunity to acknowledge Miss Maroon in White and Court. Won't you please rise? The call to celebrate has been sent forth, and you have responded by joining us as we have reached our 152nd year milestone in the rich global heritage of Morehouse College. We now summon all who have been designated to perform the rituals of our tradition to take their place at the appropriate time. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Willie Woods, Chairman of the Morehouse College Board of Trustees, will now give sanction to the proceedings. Chairman Woods. Now, when you are not speaking, I want you to stand right here. I will hand things to you. Got it? Okay. That's mine. That's yours.
Thank you, Dean Carter, and thank you for getting me back on track. Well, how would we do this without Dean Carter? Let's give Dean Carter a hand. This is my first investiture ceremony. I didn't even know what investiture meant until I got these materials. And I would hope that this is my last, because I expect President Thomas to be here for a long time. In response to celebrate, the response to celebrate is complete and in order. I therefore authorize the investiture to begin. David Anthony Thomas, I call you forth. David Anthony Thomas, in the prodigious ordation set by ancestors whose shoulders we stand, I'm pleased to affirm you have been selected to lead Morehouse College in her continuing march toward exceptional and unparalleled achievement in the manner so capably prescribed by our ancestors, founders, and mentors. We therefore charge you as the 12th successor to the presidency of Joseph T. Robert to embrace the primacy of working diligently, living commendably, and acting honorably at all times. May your moral consistency engage all your mind, heart, hands, and strength to maintain honor, integrity, and global relevance in this Atlanta institution. We charge you to be committed to the disciplined and open-minded pursuit of truth and scholarly 21st century global accelerations as you inspire in our students a love of wisdom which requires neither justification, apology, nor defense. It is our hope that your involvement in innovative education is so sincere and your interest in student learning so constant that your energetic, passionate, and imaginative influence, not only at Morehouse, but throughout the world, is destined to be considerable and transformative in the years to come. We charge you to execute the duties of the office of president with dignity and efficiency, in courageous concert, calm reasonableness, and ethical urgency. May you stand against mediocrity and creative insecurity and impatience, and against all forms of corruption with righteous audacity. We charge you to be intelligent and a conscientious leader of cosmic citizens as you preside over a microcosm of the beloved world community. I now invite First Lady Willetta Lewis to draw near. And now, the affirmation and charter by Vice Chair, Trustee John L. Thornton, whom I now call forward.
As Vice Chair of the Board of Trustees of Morehouse College, I am honored to invite you, David Anthony Thomas, to hold up your right hand, place your left hand on the Bible owned by our first president, the Reverend Dr. Joseph T. Robert, and repeat after me. I, David Anthony Thomas,
I, David Anthony Thomas,
do solemnly vow
do solemnly vow
to uphold,
to uphold,
to protect,
and to defend
the bylaws of the Constitution of Morehouse College,
the bylaws of the Constitution of Morehouse College,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Having heard your solemn vow before this august assembly, I now am authorized to declare that the 152-year-old Corporation of Morehouse College, known as the Board of Trustees, sanctions your authority as the Chief Executive Officer of this Atlanta institution, in token of which I present to you the college charter.
David Anthony Thomas, by the powers vested in me from the members of the Board of Trustees, I confer upon you the title of President of Morehouse College. With all the rights and responsibilities appertaining thereunto. Congratulations, Dr. Thomas. I will now call forward Trustee Dr. Yancey.
David Anthony Thomas. As a member of the Morehouse College Board of Trustees, I am honored to present to you the 7 keys, which are the master for gaining access or preventing entrance, possession, or control of all the doors of Morehouse College. These keys are symbols of the confidence and trust invested in you by the Board of Trustees. I also present to you the Morehouse College seal. This gold handle is an embossing instrument which, when used, permits you to press the image of the college seal into paper, stationery, or cardstock to create a 3-dimensional design. The embossed pattern of the college logo will then be raised against the background. By so doing, you may communicate a greater endorsement from your office, sanctioned by the ruling officialdom of the corporation. That's right.
I will now call forth Trustee Avery Munnings. Please come forward.
David Anthony Thomas. As a member of the Morehouse College Board of Trustees, I am pleased to present you a copy of Robert's Rules of Order, authored by General Henry M. Robert, son of the first president of Morehouse College, Reverend Dr. Joseph T. Robert, a trained physician and theologian, who also graduated from Yale University. Morehouse was the first college in America to offer a course on parliamentary procedure using General Roberts' 1876 edition. Hence, Dr. Thomas, I am pleased to present to you an autographed copy of the 11th edition of Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised in 2011 by General Roberts' great-grandson, the late Henry M. Robert III. This volume is universally acknowledged as the gold standard to guide you towards smooth, orderly, and fairly conducted meetings.
Thank you, Trustee Munnings. I now call forward Trustee Harold Martin, Jr.
The presidential ceremonial robe in the school colors is an important symbol of the college. The ceremonial robe is worn only by the incumbent leader of this storied institution. The donning of this regalia is a signature moment of the investiture ceremony, linking the past with the present identifying this liberal arts college with the ancient and universal Academy of Scholars. Your regalia will further be embellished in a moment by your medallion and hood. This signals a new and promising future in your tenure as the 12th Chief Executive Officer of Morehouse College. You are not only the president of the college, you are the president of the faculty.
Thank you, Dr. Massey. And for those of you who are unaware, Dr. Massey is President Emeritus who provided the hood ceremony, and we want to thank Dr. Massey for the term and the time that he spent at the college. I now call forth Trustee F. Euclid Walker to the pulpit.
Thank you, Willie. The presidential ceremonial medallion and chain represent the long, illustrious tradition of Morehouse College. The medallion design is of the seal of the college. The chain incorporates the Adinkra symbol, Phi Hankara, meaning brotherhood, safety, security, and solidarity. Within each Phi Hankara symbol, the name of a former president of the college is engraved on a small sterling silver disc. In between the Phi Hankara links are Mali Dogon icons, which represent rebirth and regeneration, and Zaire Congo icons, which represent spiritual continuity and Renaissance par excellence. They are etched in bronze and soldered onto sterling silver discs. Directly over the medallion, the chain displays a large garnet stone behind an obelisk. The garnet stone not only represents the school color of maroon, but also references the legend that garnets have power to enable the wearer, while in leadership, to see what others may not be able to see. So he has supernatural powers. Noah is said to have put a garnet helm of his ark to light the path through the darkness. Even today, the garnet symbolizes faith, truth, and light, as well as fire and illumination. The back of the medallion is inscribed, "The Presidential Medallion of Morehouse College, founded 1867 by the Reverend William Jefferson White in the Silver Bluff Springfield Baptist Church, Augusta, Georgia." The Morehouse presidential chain and medallion were designed and manually created with construction techniques by metalsmith Charnel Holloway, Spelman College, class of 1979. President Thomas, we now give you officially your medallion, the seal of the college. You now wear the vestment that symbolizes the honor and responsibility of leading Morehouse College. You have my sincerest congratulations and best wishes.
Thank you, Trustee Walker. I now call forth to the pulpit Trustee Otis Moss III for the prayer of the installation of Dr. Thomas.
Let us pray. May thy spirit of wisdom, nurtured by the angel of creativity, endow the leadership of Dr. Thomas to ignite the flame of passion in the hearts of men who drink from the well of Morehouse. May the holy angels rest upon this campus, causing a black renaissance of intellectual curiosity, prophetic artistry, and moral imagination. May the vision of Dr. Thomas give birth to dormant dreams in the hearts of young men who are marginalized by socially constructed myths forged by infants masquerading as men. May Dr. Thomas be steadfast, honest, true to old Morehouse and her ideals. May Dr. Thomas be innovative, fluid, and strategic to face a world questioning black spaces, called to care for the well-being of men kissed by nature's sun. May Dr. Thomas stretch each day, attempting but never completing, as he grows to wear the crown above his head that he will spend the rest of his days growing tall enough to wear. Let the seeds planted during his tenure take root for generations not yet born. Open possibilities outside of our imagination, but in thy will. May the ancestors sing, the angels dance, and you, the God of creation, smile upon this intellectual branch of Zion. We, the village of Morehouse, offer this prayer to you, O God, all who love this house and recognize that we stand upon sacred ground on this day in this sacred space may say, Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend Moss. I would now like to summon to the pulpit Trustee Richard Thaler, Jr.
Thank you, Chairman Woods. The mace represents the founding of this college 152 years ago by William Jefferson White. It also represents a succession to the first president, Joseph T. Robert. The Morehouse College mace is a symbol of authority, honor, and command. It is crowned with a cast bronze pyramid and the church steeple recalling the founding of our college in a church by people of African descent who called themselves Baptists. On one side of the trunk of the mace depicts the notches, which represent the gift of millions of years, an African concept that means eternity. It is my pleasure, Mr. President, to present you the mace of the college as a symbol of your delegated power and armorial prerogative in keeping with the examples set by those leaders who have preceded you in office. As my friend, I would also tell you it is a heavy mace and comes with heavy responsibility.
Thank you, Trustee Thaler. I now summon to the pulpit Trustee Dale Jones.
President Thomas, the presidential chair is a work of art that symbolizes both the significance of the office of the president and the person who holds it. Several Ghanaian and Dinkra symbols are used throughout this piece, two branches that represent the tree of life and acknowledge God as the source of all life. The branches form a protective arc over two human figures. Mot, the female, personifies balance, harmony, justice, method, spirit, truth, and wholeness. The notched palm branch she holds represents the gift of millions of years as found on the college mace. The male figure on the chair is the archetypal Morehouse man. He holds the Waz scepter, a symbol of power, dominion, and self-mastery. Just below these figures on the chair is the Morehouse seal. The carvings on the back of the chair include the scribe's outfit, which symbolizes academic pursuits, and the seal of the Martin Luther King Jr. International Chapel, which encourages global ecumenical theological education on the opposite side of the college seal. It is made of polished cherry wood. The presidential chair features carved images that represent universal truths and academic ideals, as well as these key aspects of ancient African culture and heritage. Just like the mace, it is inscribed in 3 languages: Latin, Greek, and hieroglyphics. The chair itself stands 6 feet and 6 inches tall. It's designed like a pulpit chair, suggestive of the history of Morehouse College. Founded in 1867, in the basement of the Silver Bluff Springfield Baptist Church in Augusta, Georgia, the oldest independent African-American congregation in the United States according to the U.S. Department of Interior. May this historic chair always remind you of your commitment to the noble heritage and traditions of this great institution. Thank you.
President David Anthony Thomas, by the authority invested in me by the Board of Trustees and according to the unanimous recommendation of the search committee and the vote of the Board of Trustees, I am pleased to have you ensured the presentation of these symbols of responsibility, authority, and service to you as you continue to move forward as president of this institution. May you receive these symbols of authority in the name of the omni-eternal God, who will keep you, sustain you, and guide you as you lead for equity and equality in the years you are gifted to serve. Ladies and gentlemen, I now present to the 12th president of Morehouse College, Dr. David Anthony Thomas. Mr. President, you may now sit in the president's chair.
Well,
I am reminded of one of the songs that used to play in my house on Sunday morning. It was Mahalia Jackson, and she sang "A Great Getting Up Morning." And this is a great getting up morning for me. The difficult part of this moment is that I have prepared a talk that I know does not match what I have felt since I woke up this morning. Because I woke up this morning to a house full of people who have known me literally before I knew myself and throughout. But I'm going to try. So, there are moments like this moment that one wishes would last forever, that one hopes to be internalized and etched forever in the annals of time. One has few moments like this in their life. In this moment, I am filled with a sense of being blessed and with gratitude. So I want to start by expressing that gratitude. Let me begin with Chairman Willie Woods and members of the Board of Trustees for believing in my ability to lead this institution as the 12th president of Morehouse College. Now, I will admit, in case there's press in the House, that I did have an inside track. And that is that Chairman Woods, 28 or 7 years ago, was my student at the Harvard Business School. I'm not saying it helped me a lot, but it definitely gave me confidence that now was the time to come to Morehouse College. That the leadership of this board and its clear-sightedness about who we are and what we need to do to create a greater Morehouse in the 21st century. One that will have more impact in this century than it had in the last. I have confidence that this board is journeying with me in this effort. I want to thank you, the delegates from other institutions of higher learning. You've taken time from your busy schedules to celebrate with us today. You honor this institution with your presence, and you honor me. Thank you, members of the Collegium of Scholars, the Board of Preachers, and program participants. A special thanks to the faculty and staff of Morehouse College. And I would just ask them to stand. And thank you to our students and to our alumni. Important for me is to thank the men of the 2019 graduating class who will be my second class. Appreciate that. And I appreciate you. Eyes on the prize. We gotta walk that stage in May. All right. There are former presidents here, former presidents of Morehouse College. I have felt a brotherhood with each of you since taking this mantle. I've broken bread with each of you and welcomed your advice and counsel. I stand on your shoulders as I do those of the 9 other men who have experienced the awesome honor and responsibility to lead Morehouse College. A special thank you has to go to my family. There's little doubt that my standing before you today marks the height of what, on the moment of my birth, September 26, 1956, many would call an improbable journey. To be here today. The great blessing of my life has been that I have not traveled it alone. From the moment of my birth, I have been blessed. First, with wonderful parents whose spirit I feel with me in this moment, though they are not physically in this auditorium. Neither attended college, but each taught me the value of education and to go forth each day with one measure of how I performed. By answering one question: did I do my best? Not, did you win? Not, did you get an A? But did you do your best? They instilled a belief that I could do anything if I was willing to commit my best to it. I have been blessed. I have not traveled alone. 46 years ago, I met and fell in love with a woman. Now, I would like to tell you that it was in the delivery room, but it's been a few more years than that. But 46 years ago, I met and fell in love with a woman who has journeyed with me ever since. She has cheered for me, loved me, and offered vision for our lives. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to applaud the First Lady of Morehouse College, Willetta Lewis. It is our love that makes this journey possible, and I love her. It is because of her vision and wisdom that I'm blessed to be here with my 3 children, who I'm going to ask to stand. Summer Iman. David Jr. Nelson Du Bois. You are the greatest joy and pride of my life. And I thank you for allowing me to share that life with others whom I have committed to serve. You've taught me some of my greatest lessons about leadership. One example being, and this is my version of what my daughter once said to me, It was, Daddy, you don't always have to have the right answer, but you always have to listen. It's a great lesson for leadership when you sit atop an institution like Morehouse College, where if we are to achieve greatness, it will not be because I have the right answers. It will be because I listen closely to those who do. Members of my extended family are also here. They include my brothers, cousins, nephews, and nieces. I said to them last night that I've had so many moments in my life where I show up, and when I first say that I will attend, I think it's about one thing, like, will you come to the inauguration? Well, if I'm president, sure, I'll come. So I thought this was about me being installed as president, very simply. Last night I walked into my house after stressing and fretting over what I would say today, and the house was filled with my cousins and nephews, my brothers and my nieces, some of whom I had not seen since I was 16 years old. So what I realized is that it's not about simply an inauguration. It's about a moment to feel the love that has vibrated in the world for me since the moment I was born, and to feel it as a source of strength as I journey with you on this path at Morehouse College. I've been honored and surprised that so many friends have traveled here to share this moment with me. All of you have been there for me over the decades. Again, I walked down this morning. Actually, I came out of my study this morning, fretting again and stressing over what I would say this morning, and people were in my house who represented my life. They were there for me. And then we had breakfast together, or they had breakfast, and I watched them eat. I was too nervous. I am honored by your being here. Among you are some of my first friends in life. We met before grade school, in high school. Others were my partners in college adventures. Among you are my colleagues, my mentors, and former students. I know you've come here to support me, but I hope also in this moment that you take some pride of ownership, because without you, I would not be here. I know this expression of gratitude has gone long, but I have to extend it just a second more. I have to express my heartfelt thanks to all my Morehouse colleagues who have labored countless hours to make this event happen. Chief among them is the chair of the Inauguration Committee, dean of the chapel, and professor of religion, Dr. Lawrence Carter. My thanks to him and all who have labored with him to make this day possible. It's an odd feeling to, on one hand, have people call you the president, and there's something important happening in your institution, and you're the only one who's not involved in it. That's what inauguration has felt like. Everybody's been moving at 100 miles an hour, right? And nobody's asked me to do anything. They haven't even asked me to make a decision. And I want to thank those who gave greetings. In particular, my friend, the poet laureate for this inauguration, Herman Beavers. Herm and I went to graduate school together. I won't say how many years ago, but let's just say that I'm older than him. And I called Herman up. I called him Herm. And I said, hey, man, I want you to write me a poem for my inauguration. And he's a very busy guy. I could hear him labor. I could also hear him say, and he's not going to pay me. I could see his wife looking at him. Are you going to get paid? He said, hey, man, I got you. He sent me an email. He said, hey, do you need to read this just in case I say anything, in this world of, Twitter and gotcha media? I said, no, man, I trust you. And you fulfill my trust in you. That was an amazing poem. Thank you. So let me turn to the only thing that stands between you and the extraordinary weekend of events, parties, concerts, galas that we have planned here at Morehouse for this inauguration and Founders Week. And that which stands between you and those events is my inaugural address. I can't tell you how much time I've spent thinking about what to say. I even had the good fortune of having some great advice, but I couldn't take it from Harold Martin Jr. Harold and I had dinner the other night, and Harold's father is one of the deans of presidents of colleges and universities, Harold Martin Sr. So Harold says to me, he says, the first time my father had his inauguration, I wasn't able to make the actual inauguration. I called my father. My father said, hey, man, don't worry about it. The reality is nobody will remember today. So he was telling me, don't stress it. At the end of the day, when you leave, this ain't what people be talking about. Harold, the wisdom of it was profound, but I was not wise enough to take it. And so I stressed. So here I am, and in this moment, there are a number of thoughts. The first that comes to me is that God always has a plan. It just does not run on your schedule. That was the voice of elders as I grew up. Why do I know that's true for me? Well, you see, my relationship with Morehouse College goes back at least 50 years. I've already told you when I was born, so I won't help you with the math. But at least 50 years. And it was around the time that I was 9 or 10. The civil rights movement was happening all around me. I became enamored of a man named Martin Luther King. I read about him. And I read that he had gone to Morehouse College. And I decided right then that I was going to go to Morehouse College. Neither one of my parents had gone to college. I didn't know many people had gone to college. I wasn't quite sure what college was, but I knew I was going, and I was going to Morehouse. Fast forward, it's 1974. I apply to 2 colleges, Morehouse College and another college that I had barely heard of, but a counselor encouraged me to apply. I got into both, and I could not afford to come to Morehouse College. So off I went to the other college, but always with this sense of Morehouse as a beacon. Well, it took me 50 years, but I finally made it. God must have had his hand in it, because in many respects, my journey to Morehouse has been about preparation for this moment. For 4 decades, as an academic and a professor, my intellectual interest in academic work and scholarship has been at the intersection of race, leadership, and human development. My work in the communities that I have been a part of has been animated by the themes that define Morehouse: social justice, global peace, respect for all, and the liberation of the human spirit. So, amazing as it feels to be here in front of you, it seems right. It seems right that today I lead an institution that can, without arrogance, proclaim itself to be the West Point of Black male leadership development. That I lead an institution where the tenets of Black liberation theology were honed and voices of the Black social gospel developed. You heard one here today, Reverend Moss, who gave the inaugural prayer. That I stand in the pulpit of the International Martin Luther King Jr. Chapel for this inauguration. It is amazing, but there is a rightness to it. It is meaningful to be inaugurated as president during Founders Week, a time to reflect and to celebrate, as well as a time to chart new vistas and to strengthen old resolve for excellence and achievement. I thought long and hard about this speech, this message, this set of reflections. And I began to think, what do I understand about Morehouse? And I also have spent significant amounts of time talking to our students, talking to our alumni, talking to those who were not students here, not alumni, but seem invested in Morehouse. And my analysis leads me to conclude that at her essence, there are 2 aspects of Morehouse that distinguish her, that make her important for the world. The first becomes obvious if you listen to the voices and the stories of Morehouse men as they describe their time on this hilltop. They say it in different words, but I have boiled it down to one phrase that I heard from one of those alumni. And that is that Morehouse is a place where young Black men can come and just be. Be during the most important and formative phase of their adult life, the ages of 17 to 22. It is literally true that when you come here and you are 18-year-old and you leave here and you are 22, your brain is different. That's why you think your parents have become so much more intelligent in the 4 years that you have been toiling to get a degree. It is also the period in which one asks the most fundamental questions. Who am I? Who can I be in this world? It is a place where they can just be without all the noise that surrounds being Black and male in this society. It is a place where there is as much protection as there can be anywhere on this planet from all the things that pull a young Black man away from answering those questions because he is answering other people's questions about him. So imagine what is possible in an environment where that noise is taken away. And the developmental task is not to defy stereotypes, not to live up to images, that you brought with you when you first arrived. The task is to discover who you really are. In that place, in this place, on this hill, defying, gravity-defying, self-discovery can take place. That has happened in this place for 152 years. On this hill. So I started to just call my talk Morehouse, right? We're a place where young black men can come and just be. But as I thought more deeply about it, I left my deliberations titling this talk, The Global Power of an Idea, for 152 years. That title is meant to focus on my second observation about the important essence of Morehouse and what draws people to it who are not alumni, who are not parents, who are not black even, who are from all parts of the world. What draws them to Morehouse, I believe, is that Morehouse is an idea that the world needs to have the imagination about what it can and should be. So imagine that you are here with me one day when I am not being celebrated as president, and it's noontime, and I have to eat. It's lunchtime, and we are walking this campus, and you have a thought that I had early in my time here and continue to have when I walk this campus at lunchtime, because you're observing what's going on. And your observation leads you to think to yourself, it's lunchtime. And at Morehouse College, there are 1,000 black men on the move at one time in one place in America. Think for a moment about the places where at lunchtime in America, in one place, there are 1,000 black men on the move. Most of those places we don't want to think about. So at Morehouse, as you stroll with me, we ask some questions. Those of you who may not be part of the formal Morehouse family, you say to me, you say, well, Dave, at Morehouse, what are these men doing? What are they doing? They are moving with purpose and intentionality to chart their own course in the world. What do they want? They want and they expect to thrive. The narrative of black men simply hoping to survive is absent in this place. And I remember growing up, right? And people would ask you, hey man, how you doing? I'm surviving. Not in this place. The hope, the expectation is to thrive. And what else do they want? They want to lead and they want to serve. And what do they believe? They believe they can change the world. And this is a place where those who toil here every day, we believe they can change the world. It is an idea. It is an idea Imagine a world in which, when you saw a group of black men, of men of color, or even a group, as you will see at Morehouse College, where most of the men there are black, but some of them aren't. Because not everyone in our college is a black man who's a student. But they are joined by a common set of values and a mission. And you say to yourself, right, what do I think they're doing? Imagine if our answer was, they are moving with purpose and intentionality. These are individuals who can lead and serve and change the world. If that was our assumption, the world needs that idea manifest as it is on this hill to move to be its best self. And, some have heard me say that the Morehouse idea is inextricably linked to the American idea. If you think about it, 400 years ago, there was no sovereign nation on this planet governed by the tenets that define the American idea. Rule of law, guaranteed individual rights and liberties, free markets, the idea that the class into which you are born is not your destiny. There was no place on the planet where all of those things operated simultaneously to define the best of what a nation could be. That's the American idea. Like the Morehouse idea, it is not yet perfected, but almost all of us wake up each day and in some way add something else to making it more perfect. That is what we do at Morehouse. Not yet perfect, but we wake up each day to make it more perfect. That is why many of you are in this room who are not part of the formal Morehouse family. Some of you are here from me. But even to them, I remind them, I've done some pretty good things in my life, and you didn't show for those. Had a couple of graduations, chair professorship, dean of a college, all had ceremonies, you didn't show for those. But there's something about Morehouse that has you say, we have to come and support him, not just because we love him, but because now he is working to perfect an important idea. Now, ideas are nice, and I have a couple of my board members. They have very analytical brains, right? And, they listen to me, sounds good. They're like, but, does it really work? I don't think they question the Morehouse idea in that way, but they question other things, and there may be some in the audience who just, that sounds good, but does it work? Well, the proof is everywhere in this room and beyond. Sitting here today is a cadre of distinguished alumni whose often unparalleled work has mattered globally. Sitting here today is a cadre of men, well-prepared men, Morehouse men, men with healing hands and helping hands, men who have engaged their time and talent for global significance, men who have stood as architects and gatekeepers for much that improves and sustains life for others throughout the world, men who are graduates of this institution and men who continue to make us proud. The evidence is all around us. In this room, we even have those who we will honor this Saturday who are not Morehouse alums. One of them is my good friend Tony Coles. He will receive a Candle Award. Tony gets asked to do lots of things. The minute I talked to him about this, he said yes. Why? Because he understands the idea and what it means that we place him as an example of achieving that idea. So, now, again, Morehouse is like the American idea. And I would have you consider, because I believe that we cannot perfect the American idea without perfecting the Morehouse idea. So the seed for this idea was planted 152 years ago when our founder, William Jefferson White, held a meeting in the basement of a church in Augusta, Georgia. 9 black men were present, just released from bondage. More than likely, they had come to believe that they were inferior. And in that moment, William Jefferson White walked in and he made some proclamations. He said, "You are a human being." It may not sound like significant words to us today, but imagine if you thought yourself less than that you had never heard anyone tell you to expect more than that, the transformative nature of that idea. And then to be told you have the capacity to learn, to be educated, to lead, and to serve. And then to conclude, school is open. Morehouse College has begun its journey as an idea that defied many people's expectations of the moment, even those that it was created to serve. In the ensuing years, each president since that moment has been the steward of that idea, charged with making it more powerful and more perfect. Each in its time confronted unique opportunities and challenges. And now, as we go forward in this, the second half of Morehouse's second century, we must understand the historical moment that is before us, the unique challenges and opportunities, and prepare ourselves for them. This is required if we are to make the Morehouse idea more perfect and more powerful than it has ever been. And that is a tall order when you think about the impact of this small institution on the evolution of the last century. So what is the historical moment that we are in? Put another way, where are we in the arc of our history? So if you visited the National Museum of African American History and Culture, you may recall that there are 3 exhibition floors. Each floor has a theme that defines a period of the Black African journey in the New World. There's a floor themed hope, a floor themed faith, and a floor themed resilience. The first floor, the bottom floor, there are no lights, is the period of slavery. It is the darkest hour. Hope is often all you have in your darkest hour. Without it, you would not continue the journey. The second floor is themed faith. This period defines the 103 years that begin with Reconstruction and end with the Civil Rights Movement led by Dr. King. Benjamin Mays, storied president of Morehouse College, was the perfect voice and leader in this period. He continuously proclaimed and projected Morehouse as a candle in the dark, whose flickering light kept faith. Now, the third floor is themed resilience. It defines the period in which we now find ourselves. And we are moving into the second half of the first century of it. If we mark the end of the period of faith with Dr. King's death in 1968, we have just finished the first 50 years of the period of resilience. And what we can anticipate, because if the period of faith started around 1865, then 50 years in, we were looking at Dr. King come of age and come to leadership. I was born in 1956. And what we know is that the second 50 years of that period accelerated at an amazing speed. What we can anticipate is that the second 50 years of this period of resilience will accelerate at an amazing pace. But what defines the period of resilience? Well, on one hand, it is defined by the idea that anything is possible. If we look at black achievement, black male achievement in the last 50 years, we see things that those like me, born at the nadir of the period of faith, could never imagine. I'll give you an example. I was born in 1956, a few months after the Montgomery boycott ended. And I recall vividly, when I was around 6 or 7 years old, adults asking, that proverbial question, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I remember my first answer. I said, I want to be president of the United States. Only a few months, maybe a year later, my answer changed. I said, I want to be a lawyer. Somewhere, as a child born in the period of faith, even as it was accelerating, a seed had been planted in me that told me that my possibilities were limited. A boy who looked like me in 1964, despite ability or ambition, would never be the president of this country in my lifetime. And yet, in my lifetime, in this period of resilience, a black man came to occupy the most exclusive public housing in America. The White House. He didn't even have a name, a good Irish or Scottish name like David Anthony Thomas. The most seriously talked about candidate today for presidency is a black woman. I was just in Washington. The list of accomplishments and possibilities in this era seems endless. Black people have succeeded and led in every area of activity that shapes our world. And yet, this is a period of paradox. Because on the other hand, implicit bias, attitudes of white supremacy, institutionalized discrimination and inequality seem even more intractable than the legalized forces of Jim Crow that resisted integration and the right to vote. They continue to undermine and cut short Black lives, Black hopes, and Black dreams. We live in a period of resilience and paradox. And so the question for Morehouse becomes, what must we do to secure the next 150 years? What must we do to seize possibilities that we cannot see today? What must we do in this period? We must build an even more resilient Morehouse, preparing our students and our institution to seize opportunities not yet visible or dreamed possible. This is required to ensure our ability to meet the challenges that will call into question our very existence, undermine our potential, and lay bare our dreams. It is required to enable us to see and seize the opportunities that will define our relevance and greatness in the 21st century. So today I ask us to commit to our 150-year-old mission to develop, or I should say, to recommit, because we cannot take it for granted. Our 150-year-old mission to develop men with disciplined minds to lead lives of leadership and service. And we must pursue this mission focused on a clear vision of excellence and impact. To be the premier liberal arts college in the world, attracting and educating Black men and other men who identify with our mission and share our values. And in so doing, become the global voice on the education and development of men of color. And in so doing, to be an exemplar of excellence. I am happy to report that this work has already begun. Indeed, this coming Monday, aptly titled President's Day, we will begin at Morehouse a community-wide conversation to design our future. It will culminate in a strategic plan that will define much of what will be my tenure as president of Morehouse College. I'm proposing 4 themes to guide us in this work. The first is realizing excellence. Our job is to bring forth the innate excellence already in every Morehouse learner. This begins with extraordinary academic curriculum and teaching that rival any institution in the world. This education is supercharged through high-impact practices in preparation for extraordinary opportunities upon graduation. Our ultimate goal must be more Morehouse graduates serving and leading in the world. The second theme is elevating our mission. The sustainability of Morehouse now and into the future is paramount. More than just sustaining our operation, we look to achieve new heights to guarantee that the Morehouse mission and the Morehouse idea outlast all of us in this chapel today. We will need to ensure our physical spaces and places are worthy of our legacy. We will ensure that our technology, communications, and knowledge dissemination amplify our voice. The third theme, Morehouse beyond borders. We will explore, experiment, and adopt ways to expand our reach beyond the borders of our campus. This will require us to transform our educational paradigm from one that views our students as learners for 4 years and then alumni. Our new paradigm must assume and support lifelong learning through deep engagement with our alumni and other stakeholders. We will design robust and innovative programs infused with Morehouse's unique blend of values for learners at all stages of adult and professional development. We must move beyond our campus to claim our moral authority and be a globally relevant voice on all manner of issues relevant to the education and development of men of color. We must become truly global in all aspects of our work, especially the education and development of our students and our civic engagement. And finally, the fourth theme, exercising stewardship. Today's environment requires us to exercise stewardship over our resources effectively and efficiently. Internally, we must create alignment and transparency to create virtuous, reinforcing relationships between and among our activities. But just as important, perhaps even more important, will be creating partnerships of purpose with institutions that share our values and identify with our mission. In this, we will exponentially increase the value our students and other stakeholders gain from their engagement and investment with us. And I know the power of this idea because here in the Atlanta University Consortium, we have 4 of the greatest educational institutions in higher education, all with abutting borders. Spelman College, Clark Atlanta University, the Interdenominational Theological Institute, Morehouse College. We can begin right here, creating partnerships of purpose that exponentially increase the value that those who engage with us and invest with us experience. And we have to address the reality of our resource constraints. There are many institutions we compete with that are better endowed. Stewarding our current resources efficiently and effectively is required, but not sufficient. We must commit to undertake a capital campaign to secure the next 150 years of Morehouse, leading in the development of leaders who make a difference in the world. That campaign will have 4 pillars. Endowment for scholarships. We must address the issues of affordability of the education we provide. It's personally important to me because had I gotten a scholarship from Morehouse College, I would have come to Morehouse College. We must build the campus of the future. We cannot educate leaders for the 21st century in a mid-20th century campus. We must support centers of excellence and innovation that prepare our students for the opportunities of the 21st century, that increase and deepen the impact of Morehouse's distinctive values on them, and that engage the world around the issues that have mattered at Morehouse College for 152 years. And we must support research and professorships. This must not be a place where the price of being a faculty member is that you give up your research. Because the creation of new knowledge is inextricably linked to the quality of the education that is provided and increases the likelihood that your students, our students, will be prepared for a future that we cannot see today. This capital campaign will be historic in its aims and dwarf any previous campaign effort in the school's history. I believe our greatest challenge is not the charting of the course to a greater Morehouse, rather, It is the belief and courage to invest in and pursue it. Today, I ask you to engage with renewed vision, powered and sustained by the guiding spirit of our mission and its core values. As we give life to new aspirations, blaze trails for new paths of service, and move forward with renewed energy to formulate viable plans to engage an exciting future. It will not be easy, because it will require us to examine all aspects of what we do and how we can continue to make a distinctive and unique impact on the world. It will require each faculty, staff, student, alumnus, and friend of Morehouse to ask and answer the question, does the world need Morehouse? And then to commit accordingly with time, with talent, and with treasure. So I've gone on longer than I anticipated. Some of you may have noticed that my glasses broke, so I haven't been able to watch my wife's expression. She usually is my timekeeper. Cut it short, you don't need that paragraph, but I haven't been able to see you, honey. So I had to give a speech. But I want to close. Good news. Good news. What all crowds hope to hear in an inauguration. I want to close. I want to close with a brief story. A brief story. A brief story that captures the design for my work at Morehouse as the 12th president in this time of resilience and paradox. That story has two actors. It takes place as I turned 30. The actors are a 30-year-old, almost 30-year-old David Anthony Thomas, about to finish his PhD at Yale University, and thinking about what he's going to do next. What will life be like in the real world? And the other voice in the story is a 50-plus-year-old man, Jesse Jewel Thomas Sr., my father. And so, I'm sitting there. I think I was home. I was probably home for a holiday or something. And I'm thinking about what to do. And so I say to my father, hey, Daddy, what's the hardest job you ever had? His response was immediate and with assurance. He said, being a father. I was totally confused. My father had some hard jobs in his life. He was a janitor. He was a welder in Kansas City, Missouri, who worked in the military industrial complex welding. So he was outside in sub-zero weather welding tankers. I remember him coming home talking about it, blisters on his feet. He was a laborer in the slaughterhouses of Missouri and Kansas. And he was a union organizer. He had no degrees, not even a high school diploma. But he had a PhD in being a father. You clap. I was confused. How could a guy with a PhD in being a father who's worked all these hard jobs say the hardest thing he'd ever done was be a father? So I asked him, because he made it look easy and he appeared to enjoy it. right? So I said, well, why was this the hardest job you ever had? And his answer was, again, confusing. He said, well, I never really know how I'm doing. Now, at the moment, I thought to myself, well, gee, you raised 4 boys. You didn't have degrees and, fancy jobs. And at this point in time, I was on my way to get a PhD. It's pretty clear my little brother was going to move to, get him a doctorate. My other brothers were doing well in their chosen professions. We were off the dole, and I grew up in an era where my father told me, like, that was the, I got you till you're 18, then you got to go somewhere. Right? That's success. He prepared you to go somewhere other than to his house. So I'm like, wow, what? So anyway, he says, you never, I said, why? Is this the hardest job? He says, you never really know how you're doing. So I asked him, when will you know? And his response was elegant in its clarity and simplicity, and yet profound. He responded, I will know when I see how my kids raise my grandkids. And I asked him, so what do you do in the meantime? And he said, in the meantime, I do the very, very best I can. So the lesson for me about my leadership, because this conversation has come back to me many times in the 20 years since I started to assume leadership positions in organizations. The reality is that while hopefully we will celebrate many moments of achievement, we will not know until long after I leave this presidency how I have truly done. We will not know until we see how other presidents move Morehouse College forward because of what has been left for them in my presidency. But like my father, in the meantime, I vow today, and most especially to my students who will be here during my tenure, I vow to you and all members of this audience that I will do the very, very best I can every day that I am president of Morehouse College. Thank you.
Thank you, President Thomas. Thank you for that visionary perspective, the stories you have shared, the vision you've laid out to our beloved Morehouse College, that we should be prepared to be successful and thrive for the next 152 years. We could not be prouder and happier than the selection we have made to have you as the president. Now, as we close, I want to thank each program participant to this inaugural steering committee, staff, volunteers, and donors in and out of town who have traveled long and worked tirelessly over many months, day and night, to make this a special event. You have assured the success of this memorable Morehouse anniversary. I thank all y'all in the sense of Southern hospitality for making us look as good as we are. Now, after singing the Morehouse College hymn and following the benediction, the audience is asked to remain to be seated for the recessional. All of you, our guests, are invited to join the President, David Anthony Thomas, and First Lady Willetta Lewis for an inaugural reception in Forbes Arena. So now, for those of you who can, please stand for the singing of the college hymn.
Make an announcement for the benefit of the late students. Okay. One announcement, please. 1 o'clock classes are canceled. In addition, I want to acknowledge as well the Atlanta University Center College presidents. Clark Atlanta University's interim president, Dr. Lucille Maget, Spelman College's president, Dr. Mary Smith Campbell, the president of the Morehouse School of Medicine had to depart early, Dr. Valerie Montgomery Rice. As well, we'd like you to see the executive director of the Atlanta University Center Consortium, Dr. Todd Green. And we missed one spouse, former First Lady of Morehouse College, Dr. Cheryl Goffney Franklin. Where are you? Okay. And that leads me to inform you that your programs indicate the benediction was to be given by the president of the Interdenominational Theological Center, alumnus, Dr. Edward Wheeler, has fallen ill and could not get here. And so I have asked the 5th senior pastor of historic Ebenezer Baptist Church, my pastor, Dr. Raphael Gamaliel Warnock, to deliver the benediction after we sing the college hymn.
please join hands with your neighbor. Let us pray. Gracious God, eternal Spirit, the one who embraces us with love and justice. We are grateful for this moment. We stand on this hill made sacred by ancestors who held on to the dream. And as we stand here, give us moral vision that we might look across the landscape of this moment and capture a glimpse of the prophet's vision, who offered to us a moral topography. Every valley shall be exalted. Every hill and mountain shall be made low. The crooked places shall be made straight. The rough places shall be made smooth. The glory of the Lord shall see it, and all flesh shall see it together. Make us instruments of your work, so that valleys are exalted, hills and mountains are made low. Make us workers of equity in the land. Crooked places are made straight. May these Morehouse men stand in their integrity. Rough places are made smooth. Help us to embrace the possibility of this moment, so that all flesh might see your glory. For this moment of inclusivity and for the call that you have placed on Morehouse College, we are grateful, and we embrace it in the name of the God who loves us into freedom and frees us into loving. May that God discover us standing steadfast, honest, true. And in that name we pray. Let the people of God say, amen.